So something very funny happened while running the 2020 Lagos City Marathon. We're at the phase of the race where we had just gotten off the popular Third Mainland Bridge, a few meters away from the midway point of the marathon. There's this dude running ahead of me who sees the arc marking the midway point of the marathon and then slows to ask a cluster of people by the road, "Excuse me, is that the finish line up ahead?" "Finish line care," they respond, and they burst out laughing. By this time, I had caught up with him and passed him on my way. In my mind, I'm going, "Dude, come on, you came to run a marathon and you don't know how many kilometers a marathon is." Or maybe it was the fatigue making him delirious, because I couldn't wrap my mind around the fact that a person is undergoing a project and doesn't have the basic information, the basic facts and figures to see that particular project through. Real high performers and top achievers understand this truth. He that breaks records keeps records. I like this way scripture puts it. It says that who is that person intending to build a new house who doesn't first sit down and figure the cost, if he can finish it, if he can complete it? If not, here's what happens. He starts, gets to the foundation level, runs out of money and ends up looking pretty foolish. Everyone passing by poking fun, saying, "Look, he started something that he couldn't finish." Or can you imagine a king going into battle with another king who doesn't first decide if with his 10,000 troops can face the 20,000 troops of the other? And if he decides he can't, won't he send an emissary and work out a truce? This simply tells us that for us to crush our goals, to break barriers, to smash records, to exceed our limits, to take our lives to a whole new level, we must have the basic facts and figures. We must have the basic information of whatever project that we are working on. This is so basic, so rudimentary. But the interesting thing is that many times common sense isn't always common practice. You know, it's so easy to point fingers, to psychoanalyze somebody else's situation, to be wiser in hindsight. But when we are the ones involved, we sometimes forget to do this basic stuff. How someone is going in for an interview and the person has no basic information about the company or that particular industry. Scratch that. They've somehow even gotten the job with that particular organization. They have been employees for that company for 2 years now. But they have no idea how much their company made in terms of revenue the previous year. They have no idea how much their company spends on internet per month, not to talk of knowing who the top 5 players in that industry are and how much they made in revenue the previous year. Even though this information is not hidden. But the truth is, do the top senior level management of that company know these facts and figures? You bet they do. Why do they have this information? Because of a very interesting word called responsibility. You know, while the low level players are saying things like, "It concern me, now my papa work," this top level management, these top level players understand the responsibility they bear on their shoulders. They understand this truth that if it's going to be, it's up to me. They understand their responsibility to know the facts and figures so that they can know where they are, where they wish to be, and what they have to do to get from where they are to where they wish to be. And this was exactly what helped me to run and finish the Lagos City Marathon. I remember before preparing for the marathon, I had no idea how many kilometers a marathon is. Now I know the distance in kilometers, I know the distance in miles. Beyond that, during my fact-finding mission, I discovered that apart from the marathon, there is what is called the ultra marathon. There's also something that is called the Ironman Challenge, which involves a 3.9 kilometer swim, a 180 kilometer bike ride, and a 42.1 kilometer run. while preparing for the marathon, you know, I would run 1 kilometer in 7 or 8 minutes, and I'll be feeling cool with myself, like I had achieved something great and powerful. Until I had to tell myself, I said, Kayode, look, don't deceive yourself, go and find out what other people are doing. And that was when I found out that there were people running the marathon in 2 hours. That's 3 minutes per kilometer. And then towards the end of 2019, Kipchoge comes and stuns the world by running the marathon. The very first man to run the marathon in under 2 hours. You know, immediately that happened, my mind just adjusts, and I say to myself, Kayode, you can do a lot better than 7 minutes per kilometer. Come Marathon D-Day, I go on to run, and not just run, but finish the 2020 Lagos City Marathon, my very first marathon. And I was able to do that because I had taken out time to find out the basic facts and figures. I had taken out time to count the cost. From the kind of running shoes marathon runners put on their feet to the kind of food they eat, I understood my responsibility to go out there and figure out what it takes to achieve my goal. And just like the scripture that I quoted earlier, I believe this is one reason why some of us have so many abandoned projects in our lives. Why we are so enthusiastic about starting a new project, and then somewhere along the line we end up losing steam and giving up on the idea entirely. How we are so excited to start building that new house of a new goal and a new dream, and then we get to the foundation level and we just abandon the whole thing because we have not taken our time to sit down and figure the cost. We have not taken our time to sit down and count the cost to get the relevant facts, the relevant figures that we need to see that particular project through. Because here's the thing, for us to be high flyers, for us to be top achievers, for us to crush our goals, exceed our limits, break barriers, take our lives to a whole new level, we must have the finisher's mindset. We must have that finisher's mentality to finish things strong and to finish things well. And the only way to finish strong is to figure the cost. Because here's the thing, what you can't measure, you can't manage. Or better yet put, what you don't measure, you can't manage. What you don't measure, you can't improve. What you don't measure, you can't control. For us to find, it's very important that we define.